Ryan, can you hear me through the iPad? How's the sound? Check, check, check. Ryan Tui. Check, check, check. Check, check. Sound check. Okay, cool. It's all noisy, so I'm going to mute the iPad. And if for some reason I forget to unmute it, just text me.
Thank you. Can you sit down or stand in the back? We're going to start the celebration of life here in a minute. And for those of you who we're live streaming it, so if you talk at all, because the microphone's over here, people who are observing elsewhere won't be able to hear. So we're hoping that people will be relatively quiet during the celebration of life. And let's get everybody in who's going to get in and sit down. I'm Rick Mulvihill. I'm the MC today, and we have a number of speakers. And after all the speakers are done, we'll have a flower ceremony as part of our celebration of life for our dear friend Jeff Cooperman, who was taken from this life a little over a year ago. And I loved Jeff. Jeff loved me. Jeff loved all of you. And that was absolutely one of his best qualities. His enthusiasm for swimming, his passion for art, photography, and the camaraderie that we had with Jeff was beautiful. All of us miss him. And I know I keep his memories close to my heart, as I'm sure all of you do as well. Rest in peace, Jeff. Brian is going to take it, and then we'll have people come up and they'll do their thing.
Well, good afternoon. As Rick said, it's been a year since Jeff passed. And yesterday, his family took him outside the Golden Gate. This is going to be fun with this. And it turned into a scene. It was stunning. If you were out yesterday, it was warm. There were no clouds, a little breeze. And there was a really large swell. We were watching waves break over Point Bonita. And a huge hit. So I couldn't have hoped for anything better for Jeff. So I guarantee that Jeff had no idea how swimming here at North Bay Aquatics and here would change. And so I know he never expected, everyone can hear me? You want to talk to the mic? Yes. He never expected how much the discipline, the drive, and the connection both to the water and all of us. The cold, like most of you know, gets under your skin. The smiles, the challenge to progress, the respite from work to bring home, to duty, that warmed him. And it was good for a soul to be here. There's no question. The bay changed him. And now the water that he learned from, that supported him, is the water that holds him. It was about 7 years ago that Jeff first swam with us in Pacific Open Water. He joined the South End just previous to that, and he was figuring things out. He hadn't swam more than an hour a day when he came out with us. We took him out for a long night swim over Angel Island under a full moon, and then we lost an engine. So there we were, drifting in the dark. There were fireworks going off in Sausalito. It was pretty cool. And nobody really cared. We would just shoot the shit and wait for a tow. And we started talking about cameras, lenses, how we shoot, what we see, and whatnot. You see, there was an instant connection between the two of us. I started taking photography seriously as a teenager. I had some really strong instructors over the years. I was published early. I studied the greats back when film and darkrooms were the thing. And within a few weeks, I learned Jeff was not just a guy with a camera. Some of you may not know the training behind the eye. First, at Kenyon, he took an art class. With an English degree, he told his father he wanted an MFA enrolled at New York Academy of Art. If you care about figurative work, that's a pretty serious place. So Jeff was no longer a hobbyist at that point. He was a classically trained painter with an English degree. His lens later would become his brush. I think you all know that. Early in his career, he worked as a photo editor in New York, back when photo editing was real skill, no filters, no presets, nothing like that. And if you were good, and Jeff was good, no one ever knew that you retouched an image. He carried that invisible perfection in everything that he shot. He built images, things we talked about many, many times over the years, positioned, framing, choosing the moment, and he had a very careful hand in Lightroom. Every image Jeff ever shared or posted, every one of them, was edited before you saw it. Now, that means cropping, color correction, sharpen and tweak, all of them. And if you spend any time in any of those tools, you would understand the challenge. As a photographer, I can respect the discipline. And going through the slides that I've done, and I curated quite a few of them for today, they're amazing. He's got an eye. Jeff knew exactly what he wanted to see in an image, not just the people, but the connection. Sure, place and time was always presented, but also balance, organization, the decisive moments. And it was the little things that mattered to him, the skill that made the world sharper, more concise, sometimes more dramatic. He made many of us look much better than we deserved. Usually. As a magazine level editor with rare skills, he knew how to make people look perfect. They say when the camera adds 10 pounds, what none of you know is that 10 pounds might have been added by Jeff. There are dad bods out there that aren't what you see in the photos. Love handles were perfected. Unfortunately, it's quite likely that someone out there threw some rather expensive concealer away after the holiday party photos came out. And since I'm setting the record straight, cellulite on a foggy day does not look cratered like the photos you've seen it in. A few of you have way better base cams than you think. Now, from my understanding, Jeff's artistic license wasn't yielded too often, but on one occasion or two, I'd get a text with an image and a single line just said, "I couldn't help myself." Little wink emoji. It wasn't malice, it was payback. Beautifully petty payback. I'm certain everyone here, well, most of you, can appreciate this. Such low-hanging fruit came about when he learned there was a new WhatsApp group that he wasn't let into. Or when someone took a cheap shot at someone who shouldn't have gotten one, or when someone wasn't kind. Jeff hated gatekeeping, he hated rudeness, he hated people punching down, and he never forgot. So he extracted justice now and then, quietly, permanently. And I'll apologize long after the fact to the small minority who may or may not be in this room. Sorry, he's not sorry. We had that conversation. For Jeff, swimming was a respite. The cold water, the long sets, even getting dropped by those in a fast pod, it gave him a break from the weight of life, an unhappy marriage and a divorce that dragged on, and the pressure of being an illustrator was producing on a deadline. Jeff worked hard to adjust to his life as a single dad. His boys needed him more. He had 4 teenagers, one with special needs, and he never backed off any part of that responsibility, even when he was exhausted. That was his strength, he kept showing up. Jeff's challenges was another point of connection between our families, something I knew well. My partner, Sylvia, and I were raising kids as single parents, and Jeff joined us. Sylvia's son Harry and Jeff's son Oliver are both artistic. I think you've met some of them, some of those who come to the house. They went to school together. Jeff's son Griffin and my son Peter went to school together. We had 3 families, different houses, trying to solve the same problems. Chores, homework, the unpredictable moments, the long days, the grind that never stops, then the deep worry that autism brings, layered with the state of the world, is pretty heavy. Sil and I saw an opportunity years ago, and that was to make life a little lighter for everyone. So we created Guys Night on Tuesdays. It was a simple thing, a weekly standing date where the only requirement was just to show up. So we planned, no phones were allowed. We planned, prepped, and cooked together. We cleaned together, debated desserts. Favorite meals were selected in rotation. Everybody had a chance. And you cooked what you chose. There's 4 young men in the house. It was a blast, especially the autistic. Social skills can be a challenge for autism. They improved significantly. Smiles and conversations, the analog ones, were the standard. Those nights became the anchor of the week for all of us. They thrived. The boys thrived. We did. And our families grew very close. In October 23, right outside here, Jeff got out of the water and had a seizure. The tough one for that, as we all know, 10 minutes earlier, we wouldn't be here. Anyway, for those of you who helped him and were there that day, thank you. You know, it's a terrible day. But at the hospital, 2 days later, extubated and awake, I walked into the room, 10 a.m., busy hours. The IV pumps were terribly noisy in the room. And he was groggy, he was awake. And I saw an opening. It was one of those rare opportunities you get in a situation like that. That's the first one there. And I asked Jeff, you know what happened? With a long blank stare. And he said I had a seizure. And I knew this was an opportunity, so I just quietly looked at him. And I said, a seizure? Dude, you've been in a coma for 3 years. And he bought it. I mean, I cracked him. I told him, nah, it's Monday. Yeah, that was a fun one, right? Glioblastoma is a brain cancer, and it's truly a nightmare. So, there is a lot of adjustment if you've ever had to work with somebody who's had that. It is a crappy diagnosis. There was a window after surgery and chemo when he got back into the water to cool out. And he found a stroke. His pace came back, some of his strength. He pushed, he complained, and he pushed again. He got stronger. We invited him out for a swim, like we often did at the times before. As a private, Sil and I took him out. Finding a moment of optimism when cancer is an undercurrent is a good thing, and it was a blast to get out. Much of 24 was an opportunity and an effort to try to find that optimism. And I have to share in my life at this stage that staying in the moment, enjoying the sparks, the wonderful little things in your day are a priority. Throughout Jeff's last year, there were many, many moments like this. I'd call him. Fortunately, my schedule's pretty flexible, rather than the 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. in the mornings. I'd give him a call. Get ready. Coming over now. Meet me outside. It was a random trip. Go get barbecue. Drive up the coast. Whatever it was. The Silver Peso. Didn't matter. We were just getting out of the house, seeing, experiencing how life is awesome in every flavor. Life became much simpler. I've come to understand that you will never know if the last glass of wine you had last night will be your last, when a kiss will be your last kiss, or a swim will be your last swim. There she is.
Good morning. Good morning.
So, by fall, Jeff was quite proud of the milestones he did. He made progress. Griffin had gone off to school. He was an empty nester. He had spent some time with his parents on the East Coast. He made it off to Florida for treatment, made it home, and squeezed every bit out of that year he could. And yep, outlived the odds. Things changed very fast. He stayed brave, he stayed steady. So, in his final weeks, Jeff knew he was loved. Share that, most definitely. He was supported. I can see the smile and hear him laugh from those moments. No one was in the room, and we could speak with some color and honesty. Why are you here? Jeff didn't chase recognition. I thought about this. I kind of went through it. He didn't need a spotlight. He needed a connection. That's important. He found it through all of it. Through his camera, through the cold water. He documented his world because he knew the moments would vanish. And so, as we celebrate him today, do what Jeff would do. Swim through the cold patches, find your peace, push on. Jeff's out there with us.
Thanks, Brian. Or, yeah.
Hi, I'm David, Jeff's brother. I have two speeches to read. The first is from my brother's best friend, Ian, who he grew up with. All right. Jeff and I met on the first day of high school in 1981 and became instant friends. Jeff was the first person in my life that got me and wasn't put off by my intensity, constantly shifting thoughts, and strong emotions. Somehow he always knew what I was really feeling before I could find the words. Probably because he read about 6 books a week. That's true. We only attended 1 year of high school together, as Jeff moved on to another school, but we were practically inseparable by then, and Jeff's family got to see quite a lot of me. Likely more than any of them most at times, as I became a fixture in their home on weekends, and often during the week. I can't begin to overstate how grateful I am that you always made me feel so welcome. Jeff and I shared many firsts together during his 4 years and well beyond. Two socially awkward buddies that didn't know how to work a room. but could certainly feel somehow we managed to find dates, experience heartbreaks, and mature together. We spent 2 months in high school traveling through Israel, working in tomato fields on a kibbutz with other volunteers all over the world. We had 3 months together on Martha's Vineyard. before we both went to the UK for our college junior years. After uni, we lived on the Upper West Side together before we both married. Those were some of the most enjoyable and memorable moments of my life. I don't think either one of us were expecting this, but probably the most rewarding experience we shared is having children and being fathers. It's never easy. We spend hours discussing the challenges, but you don't do that unless it's something you really care about. Jeff loved his children with all his trying heart. What really touched me about Jeff is he was one of the most empathetic, creative, expressive people I've ever met. He conveyed his thoughts and emotions through music he listened to. And it was quite a variety: jazz, blues, punk, I never really liked, and hip hop. Music that expressed powerful emotions. We spent hours listening to this stuff together. Other than hip hop, it was all new. Of course, Jeff also expressed himself in his observations through the art he created. His early comics featured brilliant self-characterizations and portrayals of others in his daily life, and words that expressed his sharp wit. Some of his oil paintings featured images of himself, observing others, which reminds me how we both often felt like outsiders and observers to the world around us. Most of you are, of course, familiar with Jeff's photography and the amazing way he captured the joy the swimming community brought to him. Seeing his daily updates of his workouts, Alcatraz swims, particularly celebratory drinks after, always warmed my heart, because more than anything, it represented the love and community he was experiencing. Jeff found beauty and humor in everything. It was one of his most charming and enduring features. It's something I aspire to every day. Jeff is my oldest friend. Very much a brother, and a big part. I will forever be grateful and richer for having known and loved him. Thank you, Ethan. You're going to read another line. Yeah. What's that?
Go through the mic.
Better?
Yeah.
That's me. Okay. As a kid, Jeff was exactly the same person we all knew. Extremely moralistic, funny, shy, honest, silly, and sensitive. Jeff was so honest as a child, like he was incapable of lying. I was not. And he took his job as the oldest child very seriously. Unfortunately for my teeny tiny sister and I, that meant enforcing all the rules that we wanted to break. Growing up, we were strictly kosher. Any attempts to get a cheeseburger were immediately foiled by Jeff. No, David, we're kosher. As if I had forgotten. While I did find this really annoying, I did ultimately respect his character and how he stood firmly by his convictions. As a harmonica-playing juggler, that was sometimes hard to take seriously. Jobs you didn't know Jeff had. He worked in a cheese shop, worked on a kibbutz, worked in Martha's Vineyard. He was an office manager at Bergdorf Goodman and would not share his 50% discount with me. The Gold Leaf, Rush Limbaugh's apartment. True. He spent a year at Vail, working in the cheese shop, learning how to snowboard. At the end, he sounded like he was from Southern California. Everything was gnarly, or rad. Hobbies he had. His first musical instrument was the trombone. He played the harmonica. Our dogs would sing along with him. He played bass in a jazz band. He loved Mad Magazine, Legos, science fiction, or boxers, and cartooning. He was also impervious to peer pressure. Like, it did not matter what anyone else was doing. If he didn't believe it, it wasn't gonna happen. He was always genuine to himself. We also grew up in the water, and his love for open water began when he learned how to sail. We spent a lot of time fishing, sailing, and like most of his interests, he pursued it until he developed complete mastery. Adolescence was not easy for him. Being thoughtful, tender-hearted rarely is. A stint in the marching band, You get the drift. But when he went to Kenyon College, something magical happened. Right? Really, he blossomed. He found like-minded people. He was an avid reader as a kid. He read constantly. And he thrived as an English major. And people saw him and really saw who he was. When I would visit him in college, due to our slight genetic resemblance, people would instantly recognize me, and they're like, oh, you must be Baby Coop. Because knowing Jeff meant welcoming everyone connected to him. He made lifelong friends, and he had a really nice niche for himself. I was really proud of Jeff when he made one of the bravest choices of his life when he pursued an MFA in figurative painting. He had no formal training. He had never painted. He was just cartooning, doodling, and with all the courage in the world, learned how to paint. And his paintings were beautiful, very Hopper-esque. He taught himself design, graphic design, animation. Software came out with Mac in the 90s, and he jumped on that. Again, no formal training, and he built a career where he was both expressive and technically skilled. He loved being a father. He was an active sports parent, taking his kids to swim and water polo practices, doing all the driving without complaint. He cherished his time taking Oliver and Griffin hiking, doing activities with them, showed up for them in steady, practical ways, snacks usually included. Some of you might know this, but our family went through a long, difficult estrangement with him after he got married in 1999, and that period was very painful for us. But when he finally left that marriage in the pandemic, we all reconnected. Now we were middle-aged men, but he was the same authentic Jeff that I always knew, and I certainly didn't have enough time with no one here. But I am profoundly grateful for the time that we did get. We got to see Jeff laugh again, trust again, really kind of come to his own. I got to witness his courage, his tenderness, loyalty, humor, and just reconnect with how incredible he was. He left the world the same way he moved through it, quietly, honestly, and having touched far more hearts than he ever realized. His life wasn't loud, but it mattered. He made his friends feel cherished. And he made the world a little bit fairer simply by being in it. Plus, he liked to enforce the rules. I'll miss his gentle spirit, his dry sense of humor, and I really want to thank everyone here for all your love and support you provided for Jeff. Swimming was his salvation and really life-saving for him. Really impressive. Like, no idea to Alcatraz. Our family cherished him. You know, he was a loving father, a son, and he's my brother. And I'm just so grateful he was mine. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Ken?
I do better when I sit down. I'm not a speaker. I don't give speeches. I like to chat. You know, I'm a swim coach. I was Jeff's swim coach for, I don't know, 10 to 12 to 15 years with North Bay Aquatics. If all you guys would take, you know, get your swimsuits on and hop in the water, I'd have no problem talking to you. You know, obviously, just hearing the speeches that I've heard before, Jeff Cooperman was a good man. He was a good man. He was a humble man. He was a quiet man. He was funny. I like funny people. You know me, I like people who can make me laugh, and Jeff made me laugh. Trying to think, you know, how did he fit into North Bay Aquatics? You know, he was a guy that said, well, I could have 100 Jeff Coopermans on my team. I really could. Now, if they all showed up at the same workout, we'd have a little bit of a problem. But he was that kind of guy. He was a swimmer. He was a good swimmer. He wasn't the greatest swimmer we had on our team. He wasn't on the other end. He was like right in the middle. If you took all our swimmers and you said, well, who's the median swimmer on team, Jeff Cooperman would have been that. We have 16 lanes at Redwood High School, and lane 1 is for the people, the improving people, who are not quite there yet, but we're getting better. And lane 16 is for the collegiate, the people that still that swim really fast. Jeff swam in lane 8 or 9 when he came swimming. So he was in the middle. Jeff loved to try to figure out how to swim faster. We had many a talk about how to swim faster. I said, Jeff, you got to put your shoulders back a little bit. You got to push your shoulders in. You got to hold your core. You got to get your hips up. Otherwise, your feet sink. And he looked at me and said, "You told me the same thing last month." And I said, "The month before," and he said, "Yeah, you're right." And that was Jeff Cooperman, and then he'd get up and he'd try to do it. So he wasn't a technician. He wouldn't bring new people and say, "So this is how we want you to swim." But God, he tried hard. So where was his special talent in swimming? It was getting in and just giving it his best and connecting other people. Because our team, it really doesn't matter how fast you swim. We're actually, I shouldn't be saying this to people who are sitting here, we got a lot of people that swim with me. Or how well you swim. Actually, that actually counts more to me. I like to see people that said it. When I grew up, that was the big thing. My grandfather is sort of pretty and all that stuff. So you learn how to swim well. But we wouldn't show up and say, this is what we're after. This is our stroke right here. But he was a connector. He was a guy who got in, and we often have 3 or 4 or 5 people on the lane. And he was a guy who would fit into whatever it was. That's just how Jeff was. And then I was thinking about this, and actually I had some notes. I haven't seen other people going down. I don't have anything. I'm flying blind right now. But anyway, now I lost my train of thought. So I said, well, what is Jeff's, what is his talent in this swimming business? And it really was more than anything, the more I thought about it, it's just his level of joy for doing it. He was a guy who would come in and ready to go, and you could tell he was excited to be there. We often swim at 5:30 in the morning, and there's a lot of people that smile at 5:30 in the morning, but a lot of people go, "What am I doing here?" Sometimes I'm the same way. I mean, last Thursday it was raining, like people were pouring buckets on me, and I'm going, "What am I doing out here?" But it was there, and when I was driving out of there, I'm thinking, that was really great. Jeff never got to the point where, like, what am I doing here? He loved to do it. I have a 3-year-old granddaughter, and she loves to swim. And if you say, "We're going swimming," she's, "Oh my God, where's my swimsuit?" If you tell her, "Put your jacket on," "No, I don't want to do that." But she just had the joy of wanting to do something. And that's how Jeff was. Jeff would come down, and you could just tell that he wanted to go swimming. And he'd get in there, and he had goals, and sometimes he'd make them that day, and sometimes he wouldn't. He did set a team record for getting out early. The reason I got out early is because our pool is a warm pool. Jeff likes cold pools. And so he would overheat and say, I can't do any more this morning. And he let me be broken because he did that, and he would be back next time ready to go again. So it's just the joy that we have swimming made it so that it was, when you hang out with people that have joy, you get joy. And that's we have that ability to bring joy to whatever we do. Jeff was our artist in residence. By that I mean, I also coached the youth team for many, many years. I'm not doing that anymore, but youth swimming is really interesting in that everybody's got to have a t-shirt. I mean, t-shirts and swimming go hand in hand. You have your teams, you have all these different teams that we swim against regionally and sometimes nationally. And they're all, like we swim against the Dolphins and the Sharks and the Marlins and the Barracudas and you name it, they got it. Our team, we decided not to go there. I can tell you the story later if you want to hear it, but we are the angry tuna. And what does that mean? I don't know, but you're the angry tuna. So because we're that, all these people have their t-shirts and stuff, and on the back of the t-shirt, there's always some sort of saying, some words of wisdom, and they're really good words. I used to take pictures and said, I want to think about that. That's really good stuff. We didn't go that way with our t-shirts. We had a crazy angry tuna, and so we just did different things on the back saying, okay, we have what we would call a quirky sense of humor. So we went through like a whole artistic thing. That's, Jeff, I said, Jeff, or actually it was my daughter who pushed a lot that she was a fine art major too. She goes, Jeff, we need to do a dolly picture on the back of our shirt. So we do a little dolly and somehow figure out how to get the tuna involved with the dolly picture. And I actually brought it today for anybody who wants to see it. It was my favorite one besides the one I'm wearing right now. He made the Tuna Lisa, which is if you don't want to go to the Louvre and stand around, I'm going to show you a picture and you go, wow, that is really a classic. So it was the most ill-fitting t-shirt that I've ever had. But the Tuna Lisa. So, and then this shirt right here. So this is like our classic. This was done about maybe 10 years ago, something like that. I think he made the shirt originally for a master's meet. Master's meet, my son had, I said, wow, that's amazing. And if you don't know what the lightning bolts are, if you know the band Metallica, this is the Metallica logo right here, basically, except it's Metallica. And so I actually went up to him and said, so Jeff, you didn't blatantly plagiarize Metallica, did you? And he smiled and said, yes. And we made him into hats, and so it's lasted 10 years. It's been crazy how long the angry tuna has hung in there. And so just a couple of weeks ago, my wife Sean and I were walking in, we're in Headlands coming down the steep. She has her pink and fashion. I'm wearing it right now. She's wearing her pink and hat. We have all different colors. But anyway, we ended up talking to somebody there on the trail, and then we went through the next switchback, and he looks down and he goes, "Angry tuna, Metallica." What is that? We were first. So and actually I was in the Good Earth once, and I live in Fairfax, and I was wearing my angry shoe, and this guy, this young guy was sitting there checking us out, and he had a Motorhead or something like that, one of those bands. He starts talking to me like I was some sort of heavy metal guy. I don't even think he read it like Andrew Cooney thought I was wearing a Metallica hat. Those guys are great. But anyway, I wear this hat, and you can ask swimmers probably 2 to 3 to 4 times a week. This is like my favorite hat. I brought a new one today just to honor Jeff. I get to wear a Cooperman pretty much as many times as I want. So it's like, what an honor. This is something that we will keep these kind of things. I don't wear this shirt very much for the reason I don't want to wear it out. Yeah. So I want to have it. And the last thing I really want to talk about is after, obviously it was devastating for all of us. Everybody knows Jeff that he went through this whole seizure and, diagnosis and everything that happened to him, and I know that his brother was talking about how, or maybe it was first talker there, said there was a period of time that after he got better, but he had something come into the year, like, you're going to have time to go back and swim. And so I got the email, can Jeff come down and swim with your team? And of course the answer was, absolutely, he can come down and swim with your team. And so, I hadn't seen him, and I think that a little bit of it was, how do I go down and swim and feel comfortable? Because, we were one of his communities. South End, you guys are amazing. I just, by listening and watching this room, it was really good. And I've only been in this room twice. And going, this makes it right here. This is a great place. But anyway, he came down. He was 5 minutes late. I remember that, first time I saw him after, I hadn't seen him since he had his seizure. And I opened up lane 1, just to make sure that he didn't feel like he was in pressure to swim as fast as everybody else or whatever. And he walked in, and instead of having that gleam in his eye, that Jeff Cooperman smile that he was famous for, I I could tell he was a little uncomfortable. Just the whole idea of coming back and people, hey Jeff, and somebody said, I think it was the brother, he didn't like the limelight. He wanted just to be, come in there and smile and do his thing and, connect with his community, et cetera, et cetera. And he got in and, snuck in and started to swim a couple laps. I gave everybody else this, what they were supposed to do. I think this is about November, December of this last year or whatever. And he stopped and he was kind of waiting for me to come over, and I went over. And we hadn't, even though I said hi to him, but that was bad. I said, so, you come 5 minutes late to workout, how do you expect to make the Olympics doing that kind of thing? And he kind of looked at me, and then he smiled. And we said, okay, well, let's do this. And later that day when he got out, he said, thanks for making me feel normal. And that's really what we wanted. We wanted him to feel normal and do as much as he could do, and he did. And he started coming and he started getting back into where he was doing it with other people, which is why we do swimming. We do it with other people. Swimming's not really meant to be a community. I mean, you don't get to talk. It's not like you're riding. I mean, I see pelotons going through Fairfax, 20 and everybody's chatting. You can't really do that in swimming unless you're just kicking it. Which is really not what I do. Or Josh back there. Josh is really good at that. So anyway, that's really what I had to say. Magical thinking, I have to believe that wherever Jeff is right now, he's got a piece of water, and he's swimming, and he's figured out how to get his chest down. And he's looking really good in the water. Anyway, there's the Jeff.
Thanks, Ken. Emily?
Jeff saw me. The full expressive part, he supported it. He drew it out. He let me see myself in ways that I'd never seen myself before. Our friendship began a decade ago, racing with NBA. He was one of us, dedicated, determined, committed, wanting to get his best times. In the process, taking shots of us, while going off the blocks himself. He was an artist and adorned us with his creations, elevating our team pride and building a sense of community. He almost always seemed to swim with a camera in tow, which was his generous spirit in action. As our unofficial team captain, Abby Pleasure, so eloquently said in reflection of Jeff, in the pool, you found a way to showcase the humanness of it all. A beloved coach shot from the swimmer's perspective, a streamline with bubbles cascading, smiles on the wall capturing agony, satisfaction, and friendship in one frame. He had a gift of amplifying a moment and making it shareable beyond the moment. There's two images that he captured of me that I wanted to share. So one of it is during COVID, I was taking a street shower over on Beach Street. I was pregnant. And I have like my big belly, and Jeff and I had this like goofy connection. And when I had my enormous belly, I'd always have this like sort of gorilla spirit come out, and I'd pop out my belly and show it to him. And he'd be there with his camera just grinning because he was so happy to have that bizarre, genuine, goofy, awkward, authentic connection. Another shot was in the pool. I have no idea how he figured this out, but I have a toe thing. Sort of like a cat. I like to curl my toes. I find it comforting. And so, again, he always swam with his camera. There's nobody else I know that swam with his camera as much as Jeff. And he had me go down. And the image is me sort of like in a C shape, with my toes like curled out. And it's my toe image. And I had no idea that he knew I had this toe thing. And he saw that, and he captured it, and he gave it to me to share with everyone else to learn about my toe thing. The goofy in him saw the goofy in me, and it got to play joyfully. And then I got to share it with friends and pride. With pride. As Abby so eloquently said, reflecting on these photo offerings, this is what I do. This is who I am. And our people would understand as you captured something beyond a moment. A spirit, alive, known, seen. Jeff was genuine, real, deep. He shared some of the experiences and struggles, and I shared some of mine. He also shared my joy. He participated in my family. He took photos for our Christmas cards, even though he was adamant that he doesn't do that. When our son was young, at Muir Beach, at Old Muir Park, he documented our COVID-delayed wedding at San Francisco City Hall. I was late. I was getting my hair done. I was 37 weeks pregnant, and we had our toddler in tow. He was along for the ride. We didn't pose, and he was there with us, present, capturing these incredible moments of what unfolded that day. Jeff knew what a happy occasion this was for us, having been there for me year after year, talking with me in the parking lot, sharing lunches, sending chats, and picking up the phone. His lens caught the dream of having children complete with a fishman swimmer husband, and his soul embraced it. My family and I live in Mill Valley, looking across Richardson Bay. Our television is the view. We have like the fog, and we have Angel Island. Off in the distance, there'll be like the glimmering of the East Bay. During this holiday season, there's a light that shines on top of Angel Island. As I look out my home during the day, sunrise and sunset, whenever it's beautiful, there's light, there's mystery, Jeff's there with me. A spirit still alive, may you be free, forever in our hearts and minds. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. David?
Jeff was a good man, a strong swimmer. He embodied the qualities of a true South Ender: brave, hardworking, helpful, and kind. Jeff was a regular Irish potter, but also a bee potter, Swiss potter, an NBA-er, you name it, he sang with everyone. He loved the club, and the club loved him. That day when Jeff had a seizure at the club, I watched as members caught him in their arms and continued to surround him with love and support as he battled cancer. Thank you, everybody. Never wanting to be the center of attention, Jeff was a keen observer. His candid photos captured that post-swim glow, that shimmer in the eye you get when you're not sure if you're hypothermic or euphoric, both, maybe a little tipsy. Whenever I see a photo from the vantage point of a swimmer, I think of Coop. Even with all the challenges in his life, he never turned away and always took care of what was needed. Let us honor Jeff by soaking it all in like he did. In closing, I invite you to close your eyes, take a deep breath in, deep breath out. Now imagine you're floating out at a gas house and the sun is setting. Everything is golden and the water is shimmering. You look over and there is Jeff and all of your beloved friends. Jeff says he'd like to keep swimming, and so he heads west into the setting sun. And you, back east. So long, Jeff, until we meet again.
Thank you, David.
Harassing the speakers.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. I wrote this poem for Jeff. A swimmer's tale and a photographer's plight. Jeff Cooperman was my friend with a photographer's eye and a curious smile so wry, whose two great passions, net of his children, were often a contradiction in studies. One, the free-spirited pursuit of a cold water swim that brings on the claw of the hand, the other an artist requiring that same hand a steady with a focused eye at the ready. In our bay so cold, Jeff memorialized our fleeting frolics and play to be seen as we want for another day. On a trip to Tamales Bay many moons ago, we swam a round trip with Jeff's camera in tow. A sea anchor it is, he declared, that's why I'm so slow. Who swims with a digital SLR, I declared. A dedicated, serious artist was his reply, as he snapped a few pics on the sly of me and my disbelieving eye. He braved the fog, the waves, and pinnipeds galore to capture our moments of aquatic adore. The ghosts of our famous bridge or the birdmen of Alcatraz were no match for him. A glint in his eye and a smirk on his lip, he captured our fun with a splash and a flip. Sharks needed beware as his lens captured all. Even the underwater creatures knew Jeff was on the ball. Kicking and paddling, swimming for fun, that son of a gun always managed to capture the sun. Carl the Gray lifting its cloak to reveal to Jeff his subjects galore. The backdrop of Coit Tower or our own aquatic park, Mr. Cooperman kept us all documented on our toes and out of the dark. Look left, look right, look up were never his style. Just a simple, discreet snap of aquatic friends in the wild. This light's perfect, that light sucks. There's too much or too little, or never quite right, or never uttered or heard. It just didn't matter to our digital nerd. It just didn't matter to our swimming photographer. He saw all and captured it better than we ever could. And for that we are grateful and forever in his debt. For now, from wherever he is watching us assembled, I know he's wishing us nothing but Fahrenheit 60 plus, a wave-free morning as we stumble into the next perfectly framed adventure.
A letter to my friend, Jeff Cooperman. Dearest Jeff, how we miss you. Some days I turn around expecting you to be standing there looking sneaky with your little camera held at your waist, hoping to get some great candid shot of me. And indeed, candid shots you took of me and everyone else in our swim pod. We all became so close through the pandemic when we swim pals gathered every day, parked together at the Maritime Museum or at Chrissy, changing clothes out of the trunks of our cars that held large containers of warm water to rinse the salt water off, and lots of layers of warm clothing, and of course, our face masks. That none of us got COVID is a testament to our care, and maybe to our cold water swimming too. Whew. We all thought we survived. And we loved each other all the more because of that shared experience and the community that became everything to us during that difficult and surreal time. But such a short time later, I heard that you had a seizure at the south end. And then I heard the terrible news that it was a neuroblastoma. Oh no, not Jeff, please. You couldn't swim in the bay and you couldn't drive because of the seizures, so friends started a meal train to help feed you and Griffin during the time of your treatments. Your dad, Avram, and your sister, Beth, came so often from the East Coast to help care for you, and I knew that you were in good hands. Twice I came with comfort food. How cute you were after I brought you roast chicken and mashed potatoes with gravy. You always called me by both names. Susan Blue. Hey, Susan Blue. I keep dreaming of mashed potatoes and roast chicken. And I told you, anytime you want, Jeff, tell me. Then later, the shiksa made you matzo ball soup, chicken soup rich with schmaltz for healing. I had to call Ken Mignosa to find out how to do the matzo balls. But you were happy to have me come with Dennis and sit with you a while when we dropped it off. You missed the club, and you missed swimming in the cold waters, and we missed you. And we still have a big hole in our hearts missing you.
Thanks, Susan. April, Kim.
Hi, I'm April, and this is Kim. We had the pleasure of going through a lot of the kind words that folks in this room and not in this room shared, and we had the tough job of picking a few to share, but just know that everything that was shared with us will get passed to the family. So, yeah.
All right, I'm going to share my thoughts first. I don't have notes, so I'm just going to speak about some of the things I was thinking about during our swim today for Jeff. I met Jeff in the very early days of 2020, so prior to the pandemic. It was probably January or February. And we were talking a little bit about, what we did for a living, and I said, I'm a lawyer, and he said, oh great, it's always good to swim with a lawyer. Well, I don't know what my legal training would do for anyone out in the open water, but I always loved swimming with my client, Jeff, after that. No, we had so many swims together that were so much fun. He became a very dear and close friend of mine. I think we both wished we were a little bit faster, and there's nothing to make you go faster as much as being bumped by a seal all the way along Crissy Field Beach, which we did for about 30 minutes one day, just him and I, during one of our field trip swims out there. And so it was almost more fun to recap the swims with him after. He saw so much with his camera, with his eyes, and reliving the experience of the swim was so special to me. So I just want to say some words to Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for being my friend. Thank you for opening up your family to me and becoming part of my family. Thank you for your wisdom as a father as I became a new parent myself. Thank you for our field trips, Santa Cruz and Tamales Bay, and so many wonderful afternoons spent with you and Oliver and Griffin out there. Those are really important to me. Thank you for your photos. I wish I could see myself the way that Jeff saw me through the lens of his camera. And I think I speak for a lot of us when I say we will keep looking for you out in the bay.
I'm going to go upstairs a little. I wrote something, and I'm just going to scrap it. And, so Jeff once shared with me that he often swims with his eyes closed, which I do not do. Does anyone else swim with their eyes closed? Okay, couple. Okay, I didn't know this was a thing. So today at the Sunriser, I gave it a go, and it is not for me. But it explains a lot, because as you guys know, Jeff, he was out there doing his thing, but he would run into people from time to time, and I think I know why now. So my assignment for all of you is, if you're not one of the few that swim with your eyes closed, just give it a shot and think of Jeff and have a chuckle, and I don't know, maybe you'll stick with it or not, and that's okay. Yeah. I'll end it there. Yeah. So this first one is from a couple of his college friends, Aaron Finneran and May Carey. Jeff, or Coops as we call him, was our friend for nearly 40 years. We graduated together from Kenyon College in 1989 as fellow English majors who bonded over Irish literature. After college, Jeff asked us, two former swimmers at Kenyon, to help save his shoulders by working on his freestyle technique. Little could we have imagined where his swimming would take him, from some YMCA in New York to the wilds of the San Francisco Bay. While we stayed in the heated, chlorinated, structured lanes of a pool, Coops would take on the cold, salty waves as well as the flora and fauna of open water swimming with a passion bordering on obsession. Through the many stories and photos Jeff shared with us, we witnessed how open water swimming, especially with your community, gave him vitality and joy, perhaps his very survival during some difficult years. Swimming was Coop's means of survival, surely, but it was also his aqua vitae. It gave him renewed life, perspective, and friendship for the time he was given. By putting himself in the bay where the water is, as Bonnie Sui describes, in some way alive and different from the stillness of a pool, Jeff too became more alive, evolving as a man, father, and friend. Swimming with your community, Jeff found his flow, despite the many currents of work, family, and health pushing against him. We cannot believe that Coops has been gone for over a year. I look at the painting Jeff gave me over 35 years ago. He was doing a study of two figures reading quietly at a kitchen table, and we were his models. I see him standing in the doorframe of my kitchen, paintbrush in hand, recording what was and still remains, an enduring relationship among friends of word and water, and his warmth and kindness fills my heart. I still pick up my phone to call him, but life, like water, as Sui reminds us, is always in flux, and to swim is to witness metamorphosis in our environment and ourselves. To swim is to accept all the myriad conditions of life. Thank you for welcoming our friend into your watery fold and for celebrating his life today.
This next one is from Adrian Zach. Coops' candids were some of the best I've ever seen. He always managed to capture the perfect moments of laughter, hugs, and joy. One of the best is Rebecca's eye peering through the hole in the blade of death. Coop will live on here and in those photos and in our cherished memories.
Jeannie Gebhardt writes, I first met Jeff in the water outside Creekers. It was one of my first ever club swims, and we were jumping off Pier 7 to ride the ebb back to the club. I was so intimidated by the group, the jump, the distance, everything. We were in the final stretch when I got disoriented and ran right into a fellow swimmer. I was so embarrassed and worried that I'd made a rookie mistake. But Jeff just popped his head up, made sure we were both okay, and commented on how nice the water was, and opened his eyes.
Kevin Buckholt says, Coop and I took thousands of photos together. He was such a terrific partner on the Alcatraz Invitationals for his compositions, perspectives, and of course the edits he made, so his images really crackled with life. He perfected the top-down perspective of swimmers jumping from the boats. We sold hundreds of those images for the Invitational. I rarely see a photo of me that I like, but Jeff's shot of my high elbow from August 2019 is a keeper. Great light, some interesting bubbles in the foreground, and me looking like an athlete. Aside from the photos, Jeff was a great friend. I crashed my bike near Alpine Dam once and rode as far as I could with a fractured clavicle. When the bone grinding was just too painful on a rutted Bofax road, I phoned a friend. In fact, I phoned about 5. Jeff was the only one who phoned back.
Miles Smith writes, I got to know Jeff best during the COVID era as he and I swam a few times together in random spots in Marin, including a swim to the tip of Belvedere Island together. His perceived fearlessness of the open water always reassured me. Jeff, you were so missed, and we lost you too soon. Your legacy of creativity, positivity, and adventure lives on.
Michael Shantz Hahn writes, Jeff was a special human being. We connected through art, swimming, and life as dads. I love the way that he saw the world through his camera. He was the type of person that was always observing what was going on, which allowed him to capture candid and unexpected moments. I got to know Jeff as a father as well. Sylvia and Brian had a standing Tuesday night dinner so that all the kids could get together and socialize. There were always good laughs and interesting conversations at the dinner table. He always made time for his children by taking them on hikes, to art shows, and on occasion to the South End. He was a dedicated dad and did everything he could to show up in the best possible way.
From Edwin. In 2023, I was preparing for a Point Bonita swim and was always looking for companionship for long swims. Jeff was always game. I particularly remember a swim the two of us made to Coughlin. It was very easy to swim with Jeff. He was never competitive, always positive. Unimposing, but he somehow would bring out the magic of the bay. Of course, Jeff caught that swim's experience with a beautiful photo one I cherish.
John and Adele Gower write, looking back at all the photos we have that Jeff took or was in, some obviously stand out because they're beautiful and inspiring. One has been my profile photo for many years. Many I still use to show friends or coworkers how amazing swimming in the bay can be. Tons of others, though, stand out to us because they're just everyday shots of us having fun and socializing, chatting and shivering in the parking lot, posing on the beach in costumes, milling around at happy hour, huddling on the brick bleachers pre-swim. He was a talented photographer, sure, but mostly he was a huge part of the community. He was someone you could always count on to show up to your gathering or be there when you wanted a friend to talk to.
From Sean Johnson. Thank you, Jeff, for being the friend who challenged me to try new things. The water feels a little less fun without you. I miss you, buddy.
This is our last one from Aaron Hallett. Thank you for being a friend, a fellow swimmer, and as always, an incredible photographer who captures the joy of what we get to experience together in the water. Thank you for trusting me to share your peaks and pits of your journey. I'm happy you are no longer suffering. We miss you, but your spirit lives on in all of us the second we hit the water.
Thank you, Kim, April, and all the people that emailed and texted those messages in to us. So we're going to have Fran and Abram come up.
Hi, everybody. I want to just say a word before I give this certificate to Avram. So I'm an open water swimmer, an occasional rower. I'm a water photographer. I'm a Jeff Cooperman wannabe. And I want to just say something about what it's like to take pictures of people in the water. Many of, taking pictures, a lot of you. There's something kind of amazing that happens when we get in the cold water. There's joy, we get out of our heads, we're in our bodies, we're taking in nature. It just feels amazing. And we experience nature, we experience each other. And when you take pictures of that, and you're able to share that with people, we learn to see ourselves. It comes out of our memory and out of our experience. And we feel a sense of deep connection, a sense of belonging. And so I want to just say about Jeff, well, I've seen Kevin Buchholz, and I want to mention that Kevin Buchholz, Jeff Cooperman, and Miguel Melendez, who I think is also here, had a group called The Real Photographers, which of course I was not invited to. That's okay. I write better captions, after Jeff told me. He's like, your photographs are good, but you write great captions. Okay. But there's something about the usness of having a photograph, of seeing yourself with others through somebody's eye, and that you can share not only with your friends, but with people who don't do it. So I just want to say that I was there with Jeff. You were there with Jeff. We were there with Jeff. We were there together. We experienced joy, vulnerability, beauty, wonder, and we have Jeff's photographs, which document that more beautifully than anyone else. So thank you, Jeff. Also, when you share these kinds of things, they touch people who don't do what we do. So this little letter here from the Board of Supervisors of the City of San Francisco, I did not ask them to do this. They did it. They saw Jeff's pictures. They saw this community, this sense of belonging in the city that is surrounded by water. They saw it. They wrote it. I'm just going to read just a little bit of it, and then I'm going to give it to Abram because your son was an amazing man. It says, this is to inform you that upon a reflection, a moment made by Board President Aaron Peskin, the Board of Supervisors adjourned its regular meeting of November 19th, 2024, out of respect to the memory of Jeffrey Harold Cooperman. The members of the board, with a profound sense of civic and personal loss, are conscious of the many fine qualities of heart and mind which distinguished and brought justifiable appreciation to Mr. Cooperman. And they go on to say how they realize the letter is, a small thing. But how he touched our hearts is not a small thing. So, Abram?
I just asked for a few minutes. I'm not going to talk about Jeff because I'll never get through the first sentence. So it's really to thank you. This really should be called the South End Bonding Club. It's about time our two families met. But you have been so extraordinary and so kind to him. This was his home, away from home. His kids and you, that was his life. And his solace, your kindness, your empathy, and your support. And when I came to the hospital the day after his seizure, there was a mob in the lobby, and I said, "You must be at the wrong visiting hours." There were so many of you. And then after that, the food train that came from North Bay, every night there were delicacies, and it was so supportive. And here, when we had the thought of commemorating the year, Rick and Al, if you need to do a wedding or a bar mitzvah, these guys in about 5 minutes do it all. But on behalf of my entire family, thank you for being so kind and warm to Jeff.
Before Vanessa comes up and explains the flower ceremony, which will wrap up the ceremony today, there's a few people I'd like to thank. I'd like to thank the Cooperman family for sharing this memorial with us. It's been a healing. Also, I'm going to rattle off a bunch of names because when we were organizing this, I asked a lot of people to do things, and every single one of them took off and did a great job with it. It was a pleasure. Brian Timmerman, Al Barucki, Josh Bernstein, Dietrich Hogue, Sean Bonfield, David Farlow, Andrew Bennett, Sean Johnson, Zach Margolis, Andrew Cotter, Sarah Roberts, Van Cornwall, Vanessa Marlin, April Booster, Kim Shields, Emily Buzzkirk, Hillary Walters, Ken DeMont, Mark Glom, Fran Hagler, Josh Sale, Kristen Hutchins, Stephen Filippo, Brian Toohey, John Gower, Aaron Hallett, Chris Martin, Rebecca Conkle, Christine Farron, Christian Young, and Jing Young, Brian Z, and many others who stepped up. It took all those people to do this here today, and it was a pleasure helping to get this thing
done today. So we'll call up Vanessa now.
Hi, I'm Vanessa Marlin, and I'm going to describe the flower ceremony to you. We have a long tradition of tossing flowers into the bay in memory of people we've lost, so just it feels really good to have this role. But first I wanted to say something to you that I wish I had the opportunity to say to Jeff. And that is, I've been a member for a really long time, and there was a time when I stopped coming to the club because life got really hard. But eventually I found my way back to my family. And the boathouse looked and smelled the same, but the faces were different. There were some familiar faces, but many, many, many new faces. And, you know, I just felt like a newcomer all over again. But when I would show up, I'd look for Jeff, because he always made me feel welcome and included. And eventually I felt connected again. And I don't have the chance to tell Jeff that, but it feels really good to tell all of you that. So thanks. And now for the flower ceremony. So we have a bunch of flowers by these rolling gates. And what you're gonna do is you're going to leave the upper boathouse and go outside, pick up a flower, gather either along the dock or on the beach, and just huddle close. And on the family's cue, you're going to toss a flower into the bay. And we'll have a moment of silence, and then Avram will say the Hebrew mourner's prayer. So when you're ready, we'll move that direction, but don't forget to grab a flower.
So everybody on the live feed, I will follow the people out to the dock as far as our Wi-Fi will let us go. Oh, that's great.
Group chats and everything.
Okay, everybody, I think we're going to wrap up the live feed now.